One of the massive stories about the grand final is it is the final match as coach for Mick Malthouse, who has been a regular with us all year on the game plan. We've loved his insights into both how he's been feeling and also the game, of course, right throughout the year. He's been good enough to join us once again a couple of days away from one of the biggest games of his life. Mick, thanks for joining us on this lovely evening.
It is a beautiful evening, isn't it? Don't you like the rain? I've said that before. We love the rain, and another 20 mils tomorrow just on the parade and probably while we train. So we'll get used to, if it rains on Saturday, we'll be used to it.
Both sides are pretty well suited to those conditions, aren't they? How are you feeling in general? I guess we feel like we've been asking you that every week, but now so close out from the game. Very
nervous last week. Little to no nerves up until about an hour and a half ago. And I don't know why, but an hour and a half ago, maybe it's because I've come on this show and it's so dominated by a Geelong man. So can you hold your bias? But anyway, no, I know you're professional. I don't know why. In the last hour and a half, I've become very nervous. I'm not a nervous wreck, but I guess it's just simply, it doesn't matter how many you've coached, how long you've been in the game, the finals are what you play for. I just looked at, well, obviously I'm going through my notes practically all the time, and I see a great side in Geelong, and I see a side that's a reigning premiers, and we've got the utmost faith in our squad, and it should be an absolute beauty. And I think given the conditions or expected conditions, it's going to be one of those games that perhaps is out of the 50s and 60s when the ground, I know the MCC people will do the utmost with the ground and it'll probably come up a treat, but they can't control the weather, and if it's a wet windy day, well, we're back in what we termed in those old 50s and 60s when the weather used to be pretty damp in September and two sides going at each other.
Hey, Coach, lots been said about immediately after the siren last week, just the emotion and all that sort of stuff I've been talking about. It actually, something else brought tears to my eyes, just seeing, I know we're pretty close, but it's brought tears to my eyes. And it wasn't you crying in the box, it was you wearing that bloody hat again. Yeah, I do respect you for the fact that it doesn't matter how much crap you've been given about it, you refuse to let go of that beret.
Well, you don't like it? You and Nanette don't like it. You're the only two that's actually said anything to me. I know the players have a little bit of a snigger. But, look, it's an arty type. I mean, I've never been associated with the arts before, so it's a bit of an arty type. I'm going to Europe in November or late October, so I'm trying to get familiar with the attire over there, half camo.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I'm going to pick your side on the nets, I'm going with the net all day, every day.
Well, I can't help it, you don't like class.
Hey, Mick, I know you've spoken about...
Your head, by the way, would now fit it. You know that. You realise. It's gone down a half a size. You've done very well, let me tell you. Sorry.
Firstly, Mick, after last week, I hope your book sold well this week too, by the way. But on to the football. In terms of, you love your players, and you've spoken a lot about that. And one thing, Alex Fasolo, how was he when you told him over the last day or so? When did you tell him first? And how was he when you told him he's got a grand final opportunity?
Well, Dane Beams has done a Simon Preciacomo for a start off, and he needs to be congratulated, absolutely congratulated. He was in tears, telling me that he didn't think he can get through a match. That's number one, and I think that's a real rub-off from Simon Preciacomo. That great number 35 is now going to be worn in a grand final, and I think no one could be more pleased than Simon over that. And, well, put it this way, it is an interesting story about Alex. He's a lovely lad. He is really a genuinely lovely lad. He loves his footy. He did not leave me within, I reckon if I said to him, that's how a tagger should play, he has tagged me all week. And he just wanders in and out my vision. And I reckon I've seen more of Alex this week than any other week. And I said to him finally on Wednesday, I said, is there any reason why you just keep drifting in and out of my sight? He said, no, none at all. So I'd go and do a couple of weights. Sure enough, who's doing weights right next to me? In the end, I called him over. I said, listen, son, all the best. You're getting a game. Well, it was like Luna Park. So it was outstanding. It's one of those great moments in football when you... Now, I hope he can produce, and I'm pretty sure... In fact, I know he can produce. He's just a wonderful kid. He's got a wonderful career in front of him, but his emotion and his delight was worth... I would have liked to have told him 3 or 4 times and come away extremely happy, because he's just... It was fantastic.
What did he do to convince you, Mick, that he was ready? Because we know he's exuberant and he's played some really good footy. He probably in that round 24, a lot of people made quite a bit of the fact that, you know, when the heat was on a couple of times he struggled, but he's come back since and I guess done everything that you've asked of him. What convinced you that he was the man to come in?
Well, certainly wasn't Robinson Crusoe round 24. We were battling to get 2 players' votes in that game, I think, from memory. So I don't think we can lay blame at the young kid's feet. He learned a lot from that game. Look, very, very close in the other games. Very, very close in the other games. Just that we were able to get Dale Thomas. Did he come back for the first final? I'm not too sure. No, I don't think he did, but the second one. So we were able to have a fairly good list at that time, and he just fell out. Or did he fall out? Well, I can't even remember. He played in it, quite frankly.
Played in the first one, but not the second.
He did play it. So he went out because of Dale Thomas. So there's an All-Australian for a start off. So it's not been unkind to suggest that someone has to make way for an All-Australian. And Daisy would be better for the run last week. But Alex's games he's played this year, he's managed to hit the scoreboard. He's a very, very powerful young man. He learnt more from that round 24 for his future, and if he's learnt more for this year, fantastic, but for his future than any other game, because Geelong were very powerful. I don't know whether they targeted him or not, but he certainly knew that he was in a game of football. He will come out of that on the plus side of that, knowing exactly what to expect, hopefully how to counter it, and I'm pretty sure he does. So really, it was a no-brainer in many respects that we picked a kid who was in reasonable form, good form, in fact. Fell out with a lot of players at round 24 for a number of reasons. Has played a lot of football. The rest won't do him any harm. His training track form has been terrific. I think he's a big stage player. So, and that might come back to bite me, but that's the faith I've got in that kid, and the rest of the match committee have also.
Mick, Dane Swan obviously won the Brownlow on Monday night. Not much seems to affect him. Do you think, how's he gone this week, and will he just produce another effort of 30 touches and kick a few goals like he does in every other game that he plays?
Swanee?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Sorry, I just didn't quite catch that. It was a little bit of wind blowing here at the MCG. He was affected. I reckon he was affected last year. He learned a lot from last year. I think getting up on that boardwalk for a start off, or catwalk or whatever they call it, that's not Swanee. And he had a couple of players going with him. He looked around and they disappeared. So he was virtually doing it by himself. And he said, well, I'd rather go into this one knowing I can't win it. That was his comment to me on the Monday morning before we went for a walk around the Tan, 3 or 4 players. And he said, I'm really going to enjoy tonight because I hope to see Scotty Pendlebury win it. So he was very relaxed, and he's been very relaxed since. I think Tuesday he knew he had to do a few official things, and he did those things. But from there on in, he's just been Dane Swan, we know. A few barbs about calling him Charlie and this sort of stuff, but it's just water off a duck's back. You just don't get under Swanee's skin. So he's ready and willing. His form in the last few weeks has been pretty impressive. Well, when you're in a Brownlow, I suppose it's been pretty impressive most of the year, but he's really back to his powerful best, his running best, and I think that Dane's setting himself for a big game.
Mick, you've named Darren Jolly and Ben Reid tonight. Do they need to do any more tomorrow to convince you that they're 100%, or are they in and they're right?
Oh, we gave it to them on Wednesday. I think in these sort of finals games, I don't know whether you can actually wait until last training session, because I don't think it does the right thing by the young bloke that might replace him. I'd rather know full well where we sit earlier in the week or midweek, and then prepare blokes like Cameron Wood, who's been training the house down, Ben Sinclair, Tyson Goldsack, and these sort of players. So we don't want to play emotional games with them. We went for it on Wednesday. Both boys come through with flying colours, both very eager, both pulled up well, and they'll just do a normal training session tomorrow. They'll get a final tick like everyone else will. Everyone will get a tick one way or the other from the doctors, and we'll go in with that 22 unless the doctors say to me that someone's not available. But I think that the emotional strain of wanting a game, sitting there waiting for a game, sometimes you've already played your game. So we're not about to play games with the emotions going into a grand final.
Mick, I know all your focus is going to be on your players winning a premiership, on the footy club winning a premiership, but have you had any private moments at all this week knowing that this is it for you? This is your last game of football as a senior coach?
No, well, I can be very honest about it. Not at all. Not at all. I really haven't. Last week was a different sort of week. If I can, I don't know how much time we've got, but I think Collingwood is such a massive juggernaut, and has been for 100-odd years, regardless of where it's been on the ladder. It's deemed to be out there by itself. You either love them or hate them. And I think sometimes expectations can really kill a club. And it's been 75 years since the club had won a premiership and actually played in a grand final next year, regardless of how good the side was. And there's been some fantastic football sides representing Collingwood. And I reckon last week we almost took that burden on board, that expectation, and try not to lose the match as opposed to win it. That's gone now. We know we've done something that people haven't done for emotion, that raw emotion. Now it's gone. We don't have to worry about that. That's behind us and all over. We just now have to focus on one thing, and that is going out and playing against Geelong, and playing to win the game, not hold the game, not draw the game, not be competitive, but to win the game of football. So emotionally, we're far better served this week than what we were last week. We've got a different sort of mindset, and I'm just delighted in it. And I don't say that's going to win us a game, but we're not going out there to lose the game. We're definitely. I reckon we've ridden that emotional wave that is associated with a high-profile club like Collingwood, and we've moved forward. Thankfully, it was a great win, and I think sometimes last quarter form is worth going into the next week with, and we've got very good last quarter form.
Well, Mick, congratulations from all of us here on all of you achieved in footy. A massive day, obviously, for you on Saturday, and thank you so much for the contribution you made to our show during the year. We've loved your insights, as I said at the top of the show, so all the best for Saturday. Thanks for your time again tonight.
It's been a pleasure, and all the best to you guys, and have a good call, and thank you very much.